got enough to go around, and the thought takes place uptown. I grew up on a sidewalk while on street talk, and then taught to Hawk, New York. I go to Queens for Queens to get the food from Brooklyn. Make money in Manhattan, and never been.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is James with the Movement of Sustainable Salons. We're back here again for our kickoff part 2. As per the usual, I'm with my partners in crime over there in Canada, Curtis and Chantel. What's up, guys? How are you? Today,
awesome.
That's all. You guys are always awesome with that weather you guys have out there. That's for sure. Today we have a very special guest. We're kind of going in our whole education focus this round, and all the way from London in the UK, we have Johnny with Allilon with us today. Hey, Johnny, how are you?
Hey, my friend, how you doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. We had the luxury of hanging out with Johnny for a while, and some of the guys there, Jonathan Corby and some of the crew, at their hands-on education class over in San Francisco right after Hair on Stage. So we're super excited to have you back with us, Johnny. And why don't you just give a little bit of your background for our listeners out there, and just tell them a little bit about you if they don't know you. I mean, I feel like everybody at this point should know who you are, but go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay, so my name's Johnny. I am 20. Oh no, that's like lying out my teeth. 36. I've been hairdressing for about 22 years now. I was very lucky to be to work alongside and train with some amazing people on my journey. And I'm now on a completely new journey with my best friend and my business partner, Pedro Anchenko. And we have created 2 companies that we feel we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to make a difference, one person at a time. We've created 2 brands. One of them is Salon. Salon is a consumer brand. So it's basically a salon based in central London, in between, I don't know if you know London at all, but in between Covent Garden and Holborn. And basically the salon business, which is Salon. Enna stands for modern Greek for the word one. And when we say one, we don't mean we are number one. What we mean is one voice. It's like if I'm speaking, Ped's speaking. If Ped's speaking, like Jonathan's speaking. If Jonathan's speaking, it's like an assistant speaking. It's like one dream, one team, one dream, one voice, one mission, one goal. So that's the principle behind one. So the salon, the consumer brand, is called Enna. And the education company, which is the second brand, is called Allilon Education. And Allilon Education, the word Allilon, is actually ancient Greek for the words one to another. In other words, the principles of sharing. So Allilon is an education company which is industry driven. So it's designed to stimulate, help standardize the industry, help give people inspiration, but also systems that allow us as craftsmen to be respected slightly differently. One of the biggest frustrations I think we all probably tend to have is people don't actually realize how much work goes into becoming good at what you do. People, unfortunately, the stigma of our industry is that people fall into it rather than it's a career that they pursue. And our job is to try to help elevate the perception of our industry and how we're perceived to all the other types of industries out there.
Yeah, I love that, Johnny. It's always been, one thing I've loved about your brand. I know you're going to continue on this track. Is that there is always a meaning. It's really nice and sacred. You've always had something behind everything that you've done, and you've got a message. It's not just about the hair. There's a lot more going on, especially with your videos and everything else. So that's something very, very deep. And I love that aspect of, that oneness, and that we're striving towards that. And that's one thing that, we're trying to do with the salon movement here, is create that one voice, that one connection that we all can kind of, just come together and really just learn this aspect of wanting to teach each other and to learn from each other and contribute to each other's careers. Because I think that in that aspect, it's just going to make the industry stronger and better and more connected. So thank you for that, Johnny.
100%, believe me. I mean, probably the easiest way to explain it is that Enna is a consumer-driven brand, and Allilon is an education-driven, an industry-driven brand. And they're both built on certain basic fundamentals. In their purest forms, they're based, or they were created to try and celebrate humanity, try and celebrate the idea of unity, the idea of sharing, the idea of inspiring people, getting people to think about things slightly differently. Thinking united rather than divided, I think, is a massive thing that we try to think about. Think of it almost like two sides of the hairdressing coin, you know, the industry side and the consumer side. So whereas Enna is a lot more conformed, hence why we have such a strong partnership with Davines. Enna is a very kind of sustainable brand. It's very much about celebrating humanity, celebrating sustainability, celebrating the human connection and that sense of making somebody feel good from the inside out. Whereas Allilon is slightly more of a free spirit. It's more of an expressive brand. So it has its structures and its systems and its mechanical workings, which obviously we need as a training programs. But at the same time, it has this spirit of just, you know what, just let's have fun. Let's just cut it and let's see what happens. Let's color it. Let's see what happens. Let's experiment. Let's do things that aren't always right and see what happens.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you know, we obviously feel that education is one of the cornerstones of the movement itself. So to see, to see a group like yours be so progressive and be so passionate about the education and educating stylists, it's really empowering. I mean, Curtis and I always joke as non-stylists, and to have this affinity for the business, it always makes it interesting for us as outsiders, kind of looking in at what you guys do. But having the privilege of seeing you and your team on location and working with other students, and just to see the passion behind what you do, and just the progressiveness of it, it's just really, it's just beautiful. It's beautiful to watch.
Thanks, man. When was the first time we met? Do you remember the first time we came?
Yeah, actually, my joke with Johnny is that I've seen him walking past backstage more than we've actually sat down until we were in San Francisco and had dinner together. But, as a matter of fact, when we were in London, when we won the Eco Salon contest where Curtis and Chantel presented, I walked by Enna and I said, wow, we should check this out. This place is really cool, because it was literally right up the block. And there were so many people like flocked to the salon. It was like, I walked by and at first I'm like, I wonder if there's like a celebrity there. And of course the celebrity was you. So it was a very interesting thing.
That's not my celebrity, believe me. That's definitely not my style. But I mean, I think the key here is to try and understand that what you guys are doing is quite special. It's quite unique. And you're trying to create a culture, a sense of belonging, a sense of unity. And I think that's something that myself and Pedro really kind of celebrate. And if you think of Allilon and Enna, and we say it all the time, and it's really important that we say it on something like this, we're reaching quite a few people at the same time. Allilon and Enna is not me and Pedro. Allilon and Enna are a group of people, a team of people who have similar values, similar core principles, similar disciplines. And we're no good without our team. Without our team, it's me and Ped having fun with hair. But as soon as you start surrounding yourself with the right people and developing the right people and sharing with the right people, all of a sudden you just get this sense of energy that you can't box, you can't confine it, whether you like it or not. It just has this, it breathes for itself. So Allilon and Enna is not me and Pedro, it's a team of people who have a sense of a common goal and a common value, I'd say.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're really talking about passion, and it's just something about education maybe too that creates some of that connection and that passion, and how to bring together teams. You're working doing hair together, but you're dealing with your own clients. I find Chantel, maybe you can talk a little bit about this, just about when we do education in the salon, how that increases that unity and that oneness away from just dealing with your own separate clients.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It's something that it resonates in the salon after. I think our team is very passionate anyways. We have a really good energy, but after education, people are fired up. They're excited to share with their clients what they're doing. They're talking to each other and, hey, have you tried this? And it lasts for weeks, you know, whether it's a small color inspiration class or cutting class, it really does. It resonates throughout. And that's what I love about being a part of a team. And that's why I opened a salon and not, you know, went and worked by myself somewhere, because we feed off of each other's energy. And we really, that's something very special. And we get to share that with our clients when they walk in. They come in and they express how amazing the energy is in a space like that. And that's pretty special to be able to create that. So, yeah, I hope to attract more education to the island. It's not something that we get a lot, to be honest. So we have to travel for it, but I think soon. We've got a lot of really great talent in the city. I think people will start coming. It's a good place to visit. So, yeah.
I think there's something about education that is that aspect of team building, and then that creation of that unity, especially with a sacred message, Johnny, that you were talking about here, that there's something there that, you know, I'm kind of reading through between the lines a little bit, although you have articulated very well, but just for people out there thinking, you know, what's the value of education in my salon? Because it's expensive. It's time consuming, especially when people are, could get extra clients in, or they have to close the salon, or, so it's an investment. So what does that mean for people? Because, we do find that within, at least within the industry, there's a lot of people that don't do a lot of education, that just say they don't have time, and, that they're learning as they go, or they're learning from each other, and they don't really see that same value. But, I can see too that we're building something else besides just developing their skills. There's also this team building component, and there's also this unity aspect that is creating and fueling passion within a team. That's also the important part. And do you have any suggestions with regards to what you guys are doing Allilon wise that we can get salon owners and stylists kind of fired up about it?
Definitely. I think, I own a salon. So I know exactly where most salon owners, how their brain works and how they think. And in my experience so far, and tell me if you guys agree with this and understand, tell me if you disagree or if you agree. One of the biggest things I find when we go around and we talk to salon owners is that after a while, they end up actually begrudging delivering education or giving education, because one of the things I've experienced in my time in my journey is that meeting a lot of salon managers and salon owners, what happens is after a while they end up begrudging education, and the reason for that is because they get somebody in, they spend hours and days and weeks and months training them, developing them, they send them on courses, they pay money for courses and so forth, and then all of a sudden that person gets up and leaves. And in the end, the salon owner, unfortunately, over time, almost ends up begrudging the education system because they feel like they're giving and not getting anything back. My answer to that is really simple. If you're losing staff and you're giving them education, then there's another reason why you're losing the staff. So begrudging education is it's a dying mentality, because people leave or people stay with you for different reasons. One is obviously financial gain. The other one is security. And the other one is opportunity and development. So if you're not ticking all those boxes, people leave, and that's just fact. So as soon as you start to have a mentality or start to develop a mentality where I'm sick and tired of sending people on courses and they end up leaving me and blah, 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 just look in the mirror and understand why they're leaving you in the first place. Because there's a reason for it. That's one of the first boundaries that you have when it comes to training in-house. The other problem that I think, the other opportunity that I think we have, and maybe one of the best things about why we've been so successful as a brand, is that we've identified a problem which I think is completely global when it comes to our industry. I'll explain to you what I mean. When I was training, I was the kind of kid who used to go, so what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why this angle? Why that angle? And, why are you doing this? And I don't understand. Can you? So I was that kind of kid who was very hungry for wanting to understand the reasoning behind things happening. And the problem I had when I was training was every time I asked Paul a question, Paul would give me an answer. I'd ask Sarah the same question, she'd give me a different answer. I'd ask Michael the same question, they'd give me a different answer. So as a 16-year-old kid, I was always lost. You know, who's right? Paul, Michael, Sarah, who's right and who's wrong? So one of the things that I found, and one of the things that evolves every time we do a class, is the lack of consistency of languages. So what happens is, because people are trained in so many different ways, and then they come together into a different salon, that salon has no system. So when you're learning and you're being taught so many different ways of saying the same thing that it becomes really confusing. So what we've done is we've created a language, the Allilon language of hair. The idea behind it is to basically strip back everything to its purest form. So the reasons why things are happening. So our hair philosophy is quite a simple one. It's the idea behind the decision making, understanding when, why, and how. So when you're going to do something, and when should you not do it? And if you're going to do it, okay, why should you do it, and why should you not do it? And if you've decided when and why, then it's how. How should you do it, or how should you not do it? And once you get people to understand the decision making in their thought process, and then you give them the basic mechanics to be able to understand geometry, symmetry, form, shape, and so forth, you find that people start to, it's almost like they're like this and they can't really see, and all of a sudden you're giving them little bits of information, and then all of a sudden they can understand it. It's like a jigsaw kind of filling in all the boxes. So the main idea behind our education system is to give salon owners the opportunity to standardize their brands. And by creating a system, an internal system for salon owners, they're able to then create a communal language. And that communal language enables them to, when they've got little Johnny in their salon, little Johnny's asking them loads of questions, they can all answer the same thing. When they asked what is over direction, for example, they'll all answer the same way. They won't go, oh, it could be this or it could be that, and it could be a little bit of this, and it could be, no, this is what it is, and this is what it does, and this is how you use it. There's no grey in kind of the fundamentals. It's black and white. If you lift it to here and do this, this is what happens. If you use this cutting angle, for example, this is what happens. If you can't envision your expanded shape or your or the idea of your horizontal and vertical shapes, and you can't visualize these shapes, then you can't achieve them. So it's all about the communal language. So for example, a good thing we tend to do in most of our classes is we tend to ask the group a question, and then what you find is that with the group that's sitting there, they'll all answer it completely differently. And the idea is they come as strangers, but they leave as friends, and they're able to open up kind of WhatsApp groups between them where they can communicate and share ideas and ask questions with each other and share the language. So we've created a formula. I'll show you. This is our syllabus. This is our latest collection change.
Wow.
I'm glad you like it. So we've designed our syllabus the same way we train our staff. So what you're not allowed to do is jump courses. So this is basically the journey. You can see it on the website, www.alliloneducation.com. And the idea behind the journey is that you're not allowed to jump courses. So you start on the primary shapes, and this is the most important one. This is a 4-day course, and the idea behind this course is you get assessed the whole way through. And at the end of it, you get an exam. Depending on the response of that exam or the results of that exam will determine whether you're allowed to move through to the next stages. So we start off with primary shapes, then we go to primary mechanics, where we practice what we've learned on primary shapes. Then we go on to primary disconnection. So what is disconnection? Why do we use it? What is the difference in this zone and this zone? Why is it placed here? It's all a theory. Because if your brain understands, then your hand understands. But if your brain doesn't understand, your hands can't possibly understand. From primary disconnection, it goes to advanced disconnection. So using multiple zones, multiple positionings, being able to document your work properly. Then it goes on to the collection course, which is whatever collection we're working on at the time, which is slightly more expressive, obviously. But the most important thing about our journey is you can't jump courses. You can go back and revisit, but you can't jump. There's no point. For example, if I was to say to people, your vertical shape is round and your horizontal shape is triangular, and elevation is the main contributor in controlling the distribution of length and weight in your round vertical shape, what angle is the section you're using when you're cutting the haircut? The language allows them, if they study it, to be able to answer the question. And that's what we're trying to focus on. We're trying to create or get people to understand a communal language that in turn, by sharing that language, over time, it will just infect so many people and give everybody a consistency. If you think about the past 40 years, there's been 3 companies, I would say, that have been true institutions where thousands of people have gone through their systems. And our goal is for Allilon to become the next institution. Wow. We don't want to be the biggest education company in the world. We just want to be one of the most respected. That's our goal. And you do that one person at a time. Sorry, what did you say?
I just wanted to say I spent the first maybe 9 years of my career not knowing a system or a structure or a common language. I apprenticed for somebody that just was very visual and didn't explain things. And I was exactly like you, asking a lot of questions. Well, why are you doing that? Well, because, and well, just wait and you'll see. And I never really resonated with that. I always needed the why. And so I learned eventually because I was visual as well, but I kept grasping for some more. And then I finally took some education, brand X, with some common language. And, 10 years later, I was so fueled up and so excited, and your creativity starts pouring out of you. And because I was working alongside, other stylists that were speaking the same language, I completely resonate with what you're saying. And I just can imagine that yours is really well thought out. And I would be, extremely thrilled to even go through that process yet again, So I think this is really
You'll have one journey with me. I promise you won't regret it.
Yeah.
I think if I was to be really transparent with you, I think one of the most important things, or one of the most important reasons why Allilon exists, is because it's a group of people who, you should hear some of the arguments we have between us when we're discussing, and some people who we know think we're wacky. When we're like, no, if we're going to teach it, it needs to be pure. It needs to be unquestionable. It needs to be so dissected that this is what it is in its purest form. It's not a little bit of this and a little bit of that. This is what it is. So what we've done is we've taken the best of what we know, and we've worked with some amazing people, myself and Better, in the past, and hairdressing, haircutting, it evolves, hair colouring, it evolves. And it's important that we're part of that evolution. We're the people who are going to take what we've learned, rip it to shreds, and then rebuild it and make it even purer and even purer and even purer. And if you think back to some of the masters, some of the people who kind of really, evoked change in our industry, we want to be part of that. I think it's really important to understand that, we didn't invent cutting hair. But what we're doing is we're trying to, we're not trying to, we are. We've created a system that would allow people to really understand the when, why, and how. Not just kind of fumble through it. Like you said before, some of the things that I used to get was, don't worry, you'll get it with experience. Or I think the best one was just watch.
Yeah.
Watch. It's like, we just watch. Or what was the other one I got? I got one that I couldn't believe what they said to me. Anyway, the point is, there's a reason for everything. And you talked about learning visually. I mean, there's 3 ways of people learning. There's obviously kinesthetic, auditory, and visually. And the idea behind the system is that you try and tap into all 3 of those learning experiences. And you do that obviously through demonstrations, through lectures, through presentations, through hands-on work sessions, through obviously vocalizing what they're doing, why they're doing it. But people learn differently. Right. So some people might be a lot more visual than they are auditory. So their percentage is different. Some people are a lot more, they have to physically do it. They're more kinesthetic. They have to physically lift their hair up to understand it. And you have to create a system inside that allows you to tap into all those learning experiences.
You know what? Here's a good point for you, Johnny, and I love that. So, our story always is that we have 3 small kids. My oldest is 9, my middle is 7, my little is 5. And it's interesting to see kids so close in age, and I know you have kids too, how they learn differently and how, besides the personality differences, but you mentioned the 3 ways that people learn. And I wonder if eventually, and you can attest to this, if the salon industry training is eventually going to encompass not only one at a time, but all 3 in different formats. So if you see a lot of the universities now, you go into the classroom setting, you sit down, you listen to the professor. They're recording the calls by audio. They're recording them by video. They have the paperwork and things that you need to do, because I feel like the learning has changed globally, not just here in North America, but they're looking for different ways to be able to go back and revisit because of the attention span and technology and things that are going on. Do you think eventually that, Enna and some of the Allilon education, that you're going to be able to encompass all 3 and be able to go back, not just with the old classic Vidal videos type of thing, but to be able to teach or speak to people that need to learn in different ways and need to revisit?
Yeah, I mean, you've hit on something which I think is quite deep, but it's very true. The generation at the moment is very much, I want it and I want it now. And it's, we can pretend that it's not, but it is. Everything's speed. Everything's, I want to be able to understand it straight away. And the amount of hours you have to spend like locking yourself away and just practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing the same thing. And the true masters, the people who really are special at what they do, the amount of hours they've sacrificed to really understand their craft, I think is really important. And hopefully, myself and other people who, have access to people to help people can really encourage this mentality of self-development, of practice makes perfect, of don't be scared to make mistakes, it's okay. Mess it up completely. But when you lose, never lose a lesson. Understand what's gone wrong. And I think when I think about where I learned graduation, I learned it on a Sunday morning. The light bulb clicked when I was cutting my mum's hair, while she was watching a TV program over here called EastEnders. And I was cutting, graduation on her hair, and there was no one to fix it. There was no one, I was longer on one side, and, I was lost. And I had to go, right, okay, stop, go back to the beginning, right, think about what you're doing. Why is this happening? And the irony, that day I learned that even though my right side was always longer, the reason why my right side was longer was actually because I was cutting my left side shorter. In other words, I was cutting my right side first, which means that that's the side that I should be matching. I'd cut my left side, get it wrong, and then think, oh, my right side's longer, and I have to recut my right side. So by then forcing myself to cut my weak side first, it was easier to cut my difficult side, my easy side second. And little things like that are lessons that you learn only through experience. No matter who teaches you, there's some amazing teachers out there.
But here's a better question for you. How did your mom feel about having a mohawk?
She had no idea. She had no idea. So I mean, for me, there's no greater teacher. Once you've been given knowledge or an element of knowledge, there's no better teacher than experience. Because it's just like holding a bag of knowledge, that you're putting things in all the time.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting one to throw in for you. So obviously with Davines being part of what we do, how do you, because you obviously have the twofold, you have Enna and you have the education component of what you do. And there's so much technical going on with the cutting and the coloring with the primary shapes and the primary colors. How do you integrate retail or recommendations to clients? Like, what do you think is a good fit for your salon and to train other staff?
That's a great question. For me, it's really simple, and it comes back to the way you teach as well. If you talk from the heart, people feel it. People can tell when you're giving them lip service. People aren't stupid. So if you're trying to push a conditioner for the sake of hitting a target, in the end, you're doing the person that you're not being a professional. So the good thing about good products, we're talking about products now, the good thing about them is they should sell themselves. If you're using it if you can't get the result that you need without using it, how are they going to be able to do it? So if you're talking about it from your heart, people will feel it, and they will have no problem investing. But if you're being calculated and trying to sell, people feel that too, and they lose trust in you. So my advice, is that right?
I've had a lot of senior staff that have come to me and said, I don't know how to sell, I don't sell. And I just say, you just wait and see. And I inspire them with the products, and they hear people enjoying them. And they're like shocked. They're like, holy crap, I've never done this in my entire career. But Davines is that brand too, because they also create this brand unity that we're excited about what the company does and the ethics and values, and then the performance of the product. And it does, you're just genuinely telling them, hey, this is what I would use. This is what I think you should use. And they do. They trust you. It's beautiful to watch that process.
My advice is, whether you're teaching or whether you're selling or whether you're promoting or whether you're doing what you guys are doing, if you talk from your heart, you can't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the authentic sales, consultant type model where you're consulting with your clients from a place of being a professional, not just, being representative of your brand, but also of the tools that you use. It just comes across as just so much more authentic and real and genuine. And people remember what they feel. They don't always remember what you've said or done or anything else. So I love how you picked up on that aspect as well, is that, through the consultation and their service, through the experience of their service, they're having a feeling, they're experiencing the brand, they're experiencing the team unity and cohesion, their experience going through the process of actually, separating themselves from their money at the till, but also just the product sales as well, in that, that they are going to pick up on how you make them feel through that education and consultation. And then when they leave, it's that total package that all leverages each other in order to create that cohesion of actually continuing to hold those clients and building, this really strong brand that really holds clients and keeps a really amazing retention component for stylists to build their portfolios and careers.
I mean, if you talk about a company like Davines, we are very, very close to Davines. And the main reason for that is because we have very similar morals, shall I say. What's beautiful about the brand is that everything they do has a certain life to it, almost like a truth to it. They're very true to their brand, and there's millions of products out there, millions and millions and millions, and there is millions of mousses and millions of shampoos. And I think what stands out is the sense that the product will always perform. There'll be some products out there that are like for like in regards to the performance level, but how they're created, the impact it's having, the way it's communicated, the branding, everything about it screams sustainability, and it screams a sense of community. And what I like being able to pick up the phone anytime I want and speaking to the owner of the company. There's certain companies that couldn't do that. When they're corporate, you can't do that. You've got shareholders, you're never going to be able to have an impact at the root, So I love the fact that it's a family-owned brand, and we are a family-owned brand, which I think makes it quite special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all are. So
yeah, exactly. And what's really nice is that you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we've been lucky to have Davide in our salon before. We've been fortunate. Curtis and Chantel and Angela and I have been. We've had Paolo, we've had Pier Paolo. We've been able to meet everyone multiple times, which is great. But for my end, from sort of this weird hub of the Wizard of Oz behind the front desk and doing a lot of things, it's great with the allergy questions and things that happen now that I can jump on Skype with Lara, and she probably hates me sometimes because I have the weirdest questions in the world, but that I can literally go back and say, hey, I have a client with an issue. Do we have this in the product? Do you have something that, not just from a performance perspective, but ingredient perspective? And she's gracious and kind enough to actually take the time to answer me, which is, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. If I go back to the education side of our brand, it's like Davines distributes to over 95 countries. And we're very lucky because we're given a platform to really connect with people all around the world through the network of Davines. And, you know, Davines obviously benefit from having us on board as a brand they can trust, and all the feedback they get is hopefully very positive and so forth. And then we have a brand which believes in us to the point where they're willing to put their reputation alongside us. And that's very important.
No, that's wonderful. I guess one of the last things, the crafts are in my brain because it was so empowering. But while we're still on the subject of education, there's been a lot of things that have happened in North America in terms of licensing, in terms of whether it's deregulated, in terms of booth renters versus commissioned stylists. And, there's just so many things that are not unified. And here we're talking about a community brand and, a family in every single aspect, whether it's in salon, whether it's in product and things. Where do you see the students coming out? And I'll precursor that and say here in the States, especially in the tri-state area, they spend, $15,000 to $20,000 to go to beauty school. They basically teach them to pass the test. They have zero knowledge when they come out. Curtis and I have been talking a lot about hiring new assistants and things between our salons. And I know Angela and Chantel will agree, we're kind of the background guys and they're sort of on the floor with them. What is going on and how does it get fixed? What do you think? There has to be something, and I'm hoping you can attest to something that might be the path to follow.
I think, okay, so let's say, for example, you wanted to get access to Allilon. There's different ways of doing it. Obviously, every country has its government standardization, including our countries, including the UK. I think it's important to have some kind of government controlled education system. No matter whether we consider it being great or okay or rubbish, whatever, there needs to be some kind of standardization just to give people opportunity, an entrance, a door in. But then I think once you've gone through the system, should we say, then I think it's about exploring what you're really passionate about and finding your own identity. And I think there's people out there who love what we do as a brand. They love Allilon. And there's people out there who don't understand Allilon. And that's okay, because the world is a massive place and everybody's boxes are ticked in different ways. Everybody has the opportunity to become, to start an Allilon journey, but not everybody has the, what's the right word? Not everybody has the ability to understand that this is not a company where you go, pay your money, get a certificate, they give you a tap on the back and then you go. That is not how our company works. When people come, we do challenge them. We do push them. There is scenarios where people get emotional because it's because they care. They actually care about what they're doing and they're frustrated with themselves because they're not getting it right. And that for me is the beauty of learning. That element there that you tap into, that sense of, I just want to get it right. And everybody has the opportunity to join an Allilon journey. And if I'm really honest, we've been very, very lucky. We've had amazing reviews. And if anybody out there would like to give us a review for our website, please, you're more than welcome to meet us on Facebook, message me on Facebook, Johnny Othona, and we'll arrange a video link. And if you want to look at some testimonials, feel free to go onto our website. www.allineeducation.com. But for me, the main goal behind us and our company is to try and help standardize the industry, because there's lots of different systems out there and all of them have their own place in the market, and it's up to you to identify what you stand for, what your values are. And if Allilon ticks that box, then brilliant. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Well, here's something for you. And I'm only going on, we're in the process of kind of expanding and hiring new assistants and things. So here's my scenario. I'll be the person we're talking about.
Okay.
I graduated beauty school 6 years ago. I didn't really, by the way, but I graduated beauty school 6 years ago. I took my first job based on a recommendation. I went into a small salon because I thought that's where I wanted to be. And I got there and all I did was sweep the floor and wash hair. And, there wasn't even zero education. I was basically housekeeping, which I completely understand is part of the job. And you need to get your bones somewhere. So now I worked there for 2 years and I left. I went to a bigger salon. Maybe a mildly celebrity stylist was the colorist or the cutter. And I went there and I was absolutely the peon. I was the low person on the totem pole. I had to work my way up, but now in my opinion, I graduated. I have 2 years of experience. I stayed there for a year and I said, you know what? I'm looking for more than this, even though they do some education. And now I'm ready to look for my third job in the beauty industry in 4 years of having my license. Where does that play into Allilon's education? Where does that play into other salon owners? Because now I look at that resume and I see a job hopper, and unless they come in completely buttoned up and passionate and ready to go, Curtis and Chantel and Angela and I are kind of similar salons. We're very exclusive 6-chair salons, very communal, very family driven in terms of our staff. What would make me want to hire you, and what would make me want to trust to bring them on? Where does Allilon play into someone if I wanted to send them in for education?
Very good question. I think the first thing to do is look in the mirror, because you have to understand if your company has the systems in place to be able to support that person's growth. If you haven't got the systems in place, then there's a reason why you're looking for staff in the first place. If Allilon's positioning, shall we say, is mainly to start with the salon owners. I'll give you an example. Today, upstairs in the academy, we had 9 students who were doing they're doing like a teacher training course. So these guys actually are trainers, they're educators, they own their own academies, their own salons in somewhere like Poland. So they come to London for us to teach them how to teach, to help them standardize their schools. Now you could argue that that's a default model on our behalf, because we're training our competition. We're training people who have schools to and we give them our literature to go back and teach. So you could argue that we're training people to do what it is that we're doing. But in the end, that's what it's about. It's about sharing. So if we can give salon owners the opportunity to look at themselves in the mirror, to look at their business, to understand where the holes are in their business in regards to their education side, as well as, we do hair courses, but we also do management courses. We also do diagram training. We also do motivational training and photo shoot training. We do lots of stuff. So, the best thing to do really is have a look at the website, because that will give you everything you possibly could need, rather than me trying to go through it. I don't want to sound like I'm selling, but I'm just from my heart. But the key here is to understand that if we can get the salon owner to believe in the culture and to help them create a culture within their brand, then they can help standardize their salon. So when Sarah does come in looking for a job, it's not just about what Sarah can bring to you, it's about what you can bring to Sarah and how you can make Sarah better. So if this person that looks like they're jumping, there's a reason why they're jumping, because the salons they go to don't help them grow. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's going to cut out that
question beautifully.
It's going to cut out any second, that guy's one looks at it.
Yeah, so what I'll do is if you
log
don't
out.
mind, let's do that one more time, if you don't mind. And we'll keep it short after this one, but thanks.
Okay.
Them up, break breaking them up, breaking them up. Standing on shaky ground, too close to the edge. Let's see if I know the ledge.